He invited his poor ex-wife to his wedding just to humiliate her, but when she stepped out of a Rolls-Royce with triplets, everything changed. What happened next will leave you speechless. Stay with me till the end, because this story holds a twist you'll never forget. Before we begin this powerful story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon so you never miss our inspiring, life-changing stories. Remember to like, share, and comment to support our journey of storytelling with purpose. This is more than entertainment. Every tale we tell carries a deep moral lesson to inspire, heal, and uplift. Let's grow, feel, and learn together through the power of stories. He invited his poor ex-wife to his wedding to disgrace her, but she came in a Rolls-Royce plus triplets. I used to think power meant never being weak again. That money would erase every insult, every slap of poverty. Every night I went to bed with a stomach as empty as my future. But power, it only made me colder.
My name is Adam. Billionaire.
CEO of the most brutal tech empire in the city. But years before that title, I was nobody. Just a broken man with a backpack full of rejected ideas. And one woman who still believed in me when the whole world laughed.
Her name was Sarah. She was my wife.
My lighthouse in storms no one saw. She stitched my torn shirts with trembling hands and sold her wedding bangles to buy me a second-hand laptop.
And I
repaid her love with betrayal. When the money came, so did the pride. Investors, limelight, power suits. I forgot what hunger felt like. I forgot the woman who fed me when the world refused. They told me she was holding me back. That a man of my status should marry power. I listened. I divorced Sarah quietly. Signed the papers like they were nothing. She did not cry. She just looked at me with those tired, kind eyes. And whispered, "Do not lose your soul chasing the world." But I had already lost it. Fast forward 5 years. Today is my wedding day.
To Bianca,
the daughter of a real estate mogul. A high society affair. Golden arches. Silk-draped chandeliers. Journalists circling like vultures. And I sent an invitation to Sarah. Not to be kind. No. I wanted to see her broken. Still poor. Still invisible. Still regretting losing a billionaire. I stood by the aisle, sipping champagne, smirking at the thought. And then, a hush fell over the crowd. The valet rushed in, breathless. "Sir, there's a Rolls-Royce at the gate. With security detail." I chuckled. Probably one of Bianca's relatives. But then I saw her. Stepping out like a queen. Sarah. Her black silk dress kissed the ground. Her heels echoed confidence. And behind her, 3 children. Triplets. 2 boys and a girl. Each the mirror of my face. Gasps swept through the hall. Bianca's father looked pale. My hands trembled. I stepped forward. "Sarah, what is this?" She smiled softly. "I came to return your invitation. And your children." The crowd was silent. Eyes on me. On her. On the little girl clinging to her hand, whispering, "Mommy, is that the man from the photo?" I felt my knees weaken. I had not seen them. Had not known. Had not cared. I wanted to run. Hide. Erase the past. But then she looked at me. With the same eyes that once saw hope in me. Now filled with strength. Wisdom. And no bitterness. I raised them without you. Not for revenge. But to prove that I could. I opened my mouth to speak. But my voice betrayed me. The little boy walked toward me. Handing me a crumpled paper. It was a drawing. Of our family. Stick figures. 4 hearts. A sun shining above. Labeled, "My daddy, one day he will come back." And just like that, the man with everything felt like nothing. Tears burned behind my eyes. The crowd no longer mattered. The cameras. The wealth. The gold. Only her. And the children I never knew I needed. "Sarah," I whispered. But she turned away. Not in anger. In grace. Dignity. Power. She walked back toward the Rolls-Royce.
triplets following.
But the girl looked back.
One final glance. And in that glance, a spark, a chance.
A test of who I would choose to be.
From this moment forward, I stood frozen.
Her scent lingered, faint jasmine and warmth. Like the nights she used to wait up for me, believing I would return a better man. But I never did. Now, the echo of their tiny footsteps faded across the marble floor, each step tearing at the pride I once wore like armor. Bianca stormed toward me.
Face flushed.
Eyes wild. You told me she was irrelevant. That you had no past. I had nothing to say. Because the truth was uglier than silence. In the distance, the chauffeur opened the Rolls-Royce door. Sarah helped the kids inside, graceful, calm, complete.
Without me. I chased after her.
Like a man chasing his own soul.
Wait, please. She turned. Not startled. Not afraid. Just calm.
The kind of calm that only comes after surviving fire.
I never knew about them, I said.
Voice cracking like old glass. You should have told me. She held my gaze.
Unflinching. I did.
She reached into her bag. Pulled out a stack of letters.
All unopened.
All addressed to my penthouse. My name on every envelope. My company's seal on each return notice. I sent you pictures.
Drawings. Ultrasound scans.
Not because I needed anything, but because they deserved to know their father tried. She handed them to me. I took them with shaking hands.
The first letter.
A child's scrawl in crayon. Dear Daddy, I turned 4 today. I hope you are building rockets.
My heart cracked.
Pain lanced through me in waves I had never known.
I dropped to my knees.
Right there, in my $1,000 suit. On the red carpet meant for another woman.
The guests stared.
The media whispered. But I no longer cared. Tears streamed down my face. I failed you, I said. I failed all of you. Sarah crouched beside me.
Put her hand on mine.
The same hand that once held mine through storms and starvation.
You did, she said gently.
But failing once does not mean you cannot rise.
I looked at her. So strong.
So full of grace. How did you survive?
I asked.
How did you become this?
She smiled. I built a business.
Started with baking muffins for neighbors. One day turned into orders. Orders into a bakery. The bakery into a franchise. I never waited for rescue. I became my own. The Rolls-Royce behind her. It had her bakery's logo on the side. Sweet rise, from flour to fortune. The irony hit me like a wave. She rose from dust while I drowned in gold.
Can I see them? I asked.
My voice barely a whisper.
Her eyes softened.
They want to know you.
But not the man you were.
They deserve better.
I want to be better, I said. Sarah nodded.
I believe in second chances. But they are not given.
They are earned. She stood up. Looked down at me.
I have nothing left to prove. But maybe you do.
She turned again.
The kids peeked out the window. The girl waved. I waved back. Hands trembling.
Heart cracked open.
The Rolls-Royce drove off, taking with it the only thing I had ever truly lost. And perhaps might still be able to win back. I looked at the letters again. Held them to my chest. This was no longer about success.
Not about wealth. Or revenge.
This was about redemption. About rebuilding not an empire, but a family. And I would do whatever it took. To stand at their door one day. Not as a billionaire. But as a father. A man. The night swallowed the noise of the wedding behind me. The music faded. The flashing cameras lost interest. And all that remained was the weight of my own breathing. I walked away from the altar.
Away from Bianca.
Away from everything that once defined me. Into the silence. Into the truth. That evening, I sat alone in my penthouse. The city lights below blinked like judgmental eyes. And on the table in front of me, the letters. All 37 of them. Dated across years. Each one a window into a life I had missed. The second one was a drawing. Crude, innocent. A family of stick figures holding hands. A big S on the mommy's shirt. A laptop in daddy's hand. And 3 tiny faces all smiling up at a sun. The third. A child's report card. Your son Ethan got the highest in math again. Sarah had added in pen. He says he codes just like you used to. I buried my face in my palms. Grief had a taste. It was salt and metal, and time that would never return. I stayed up all night. Reading. Crying. Remembering the warmth I had once held. And thrown away chasing shadows. The next morning, I made a decision. I cancelled the wedding. Sent Bianca a handwritten letter. No blame. Just honesty. A man trying to clean the blood off his hands. I walked into my boardroom that same afternoon. Announced I was taking a sabbatical. My staff gasped. The media speculated. But I no longer cared for applause. Or for their headlines. This was not a PR stunt. This was a resurrection. I bought a small apartment near the neighborhood Sarah lived in. Not to stalk her. Not to force myself in. But to be close. To be available. To show up, daily humbly. I started sending gifts. Not toys. But books the children had mentioned in their letters. Tickets to science fairs. A small telescope for Ethan. No notes. No expectations. Just presents. Weeks passed. Then a month. One evening, as I left a children's bookstore with 3 wrapped books, I heard a voice behind me. Those are the exact ones Mia wanted. I turned. My breath caught. Sarah. She wore jeans dusted with flour. Hair pulled back in a bun. And eyes watching. Reading. Measuring. She has been talking about them non-stop, she added. I nodded. I remembered. From her letter. The one where she said she loves stars, like her mom. She looked surprised. Then smiled. A small one. But real. I see you read them all, she said. I did, I replied. Twice. She looked down. Then back at me. Do you want to walk with me to the bakery? The kids are helping decorate for a charity event. My heart raced. I swallowed hard. Yes. I would like that. We walked in silence. Past laughing children. Falling leaves. And a new kind of hope. Outside the bakery, I heard laughter spill out. 3 voices. One giggle that sounded just like hers. One question that echoed my old curiosity. And one tiny voice yelling, Mommy's here. Sarah smiled. I stopped at the door. She turned to me. You do not have to win me back, Adam. You just have to show them that you are the father they imagined in their letters. I nodded. I will. Even if it takes my whole life. She opened the door. Warmth spilled out. The smell of cinnamon. The sound of love. And 3 little hearts waiting inside. I took a deep breath. And stepped in. The moment I stepped into that bakery, something shifted inside me. It was not just warmth. It was recognition. Of what home truly meant. The walls were painted with pastel colors, each corner filled with tiny hand-painted signs. Mia's muffins. Ethan's coding cookies. Liam's laughter buns. My heart clenched. They had names on everything. Built into this world she created from ashes. I was nowhere. But somehow, I was everywhere. At the back of the shop, I saw them. 3 little faces huddled around a cupcake tower. Sprinkling stars. Wearing aprons too big for their bodies. Ethan looked up first. His eyes met mine, curious, cautious. Mia gasped. And Liam froze with blue frosting on his nose. Sarah gently placed her hand on my shoulder. Go on. I walked toward them slowly, afraid of the silence. Afraid of saying the wrong thing. But before I could speak, Mia tilted her head. Are you really our daddy? My voice trembled. I hope I can be. She looked at her brothers. Then back at me. Do you like stars? I nodded. I used to wish on them every night. Until I forgot how.
Ethan stepped forward, held out a toy robot.
I made this. It does not work yet. But maybe we can fix it. I took it in my hands. As carefully as if it were made of glass. I would like nothing more, I whispered. Liam, the quietest, slowly walked around the table. Tugged at my coat. Are you going to leave again? Those words. They pierced deeper than any insult I had ever known. I knelt down. Looked into his big, wondering eyes. And said the only thing I could. No. Never again. He looked at his siblings. Then smiled. And placed a tiny, sticky hand in mine. Sarah stood nearby. Watching. Not interfering. Just witnessing. And in that moment, she saw it. The man I was trying to become. Not for her. Not to fix the past. But to build a future. Can he help us make the sign for the front window? Mia asked Sarah. He is good with colors. I saw in a picture. Sarah looked at me. Eyes soft. Voice steady. Of course. He can help with whatever you need. So I did. That afternoon, I sat with them at a small table. Cutting shapes. Drawing stars. Tasting muffins. Fixing the broken robot. I had led boardrooms. Won awards. Bought penthouses. But this was the first time in years I felt truly rich. And just as I helped Liam write his name on the sign, the doorbell jingled. A familiar face walked in. Derek, my old college roommate. Now a venture capitalist. And one of the men who once said, "She is dead weight, Adam. Leave her." He paused, staring at the scene. At me on the floor, covered in flour, laughing with triplets. Sarah looked at him politely. "Welcome to Sweet Rise. Would you like a table?" He blinked, utterly confused. I stood slowly, met his eyes. "Derek, meet my family." He scoffed. "You left all this to be what? A baker?" I looked at Sarah, at the children now hanging on my arms, and smiled. "No. I left everything to be their father." He chuckled nervously, backing toward the door. But before he could leave, Sarah added sweetly, "Do take a muffin for the road. It might sweeten your bitterness." Liam giggled. The twins high-fived. And I knew. This was just the beginning. There would be questions. Therapy. Tears. Late-night doubts. But there would also be pancake breakfasts. Story times. And maybe one day, forgiveness. Because some families are not made by blood alone. They are built by redemption. Rebuilt with love. And held together by the courage to show up, day after day. Sarah watched us from the counter. Her eyes were steady, but I could feel the storm behind them. A mother's love. A protector's guard. A woman who built a fortress out of the very bricks I had left behind. I did not expect forgiveness overnight. But I was here. Not to beg. Not to manipulate. But to earn. Over the next few days, I returned to the bakery, every afternoon. At first, just to help clean tables. Then wash dishes. Stock shelves. Mia would give me odd glances. Ethan began to ask questions. Liam, still the most guarded, sat near me in silence, watching. One evening, as I took out the trash, I heard a soft voice behind me. "Did you always want to be rich?" It was Ethan. I turned slowly. He stood with his hands in his pockets, eyes wide with honest curiosity. "No," I answered truthfully. "I just wanted to be enough. For someone. For myself." He nodded slowly. Then asked, "Were we not enough?" The air turned sharp. Heavy. Painful. I bent down, looking him in the eyes. "You were more than enough. I was the one who did not see it. That is my failure, not yours." He looked away. "I used to think my dad must have died. Because no dad would choose to stay away." A tear escaped before I could stop it. I placed a hand on his shoulder.
I did not die, Ethan. But I was lost. And now,
I want to find my way back. If you will let me.
He did not speak. But he did not pull away.
That night, as I walked home, I replayed his words again and again. How many years had they whispered to each other? Lying in bed, waiting for a father who never came? I could never give them those lost years. But I could give them every year forward. The next morning, I showed up early.
Before the bakery opened, I painted the window frame, fixed the creaky stool,
hung fairy lights around the display.
When Sarah arrived, she paused. Not with suspicion. With something else. Recognition, maybe.
She walked in slowly. I see you are redecorating my life now.
I smiled.
I just thought, the outside should match the magic you created inside. She folded her arms. You do realize I do not need saving, Adam.
I nodded. Good. Because this time,
I came to be saved. She held my gaze.
For a long time.
Then she handed me an apron. There's dough on the counter. Prove yourself through your hands. Not your words.
And so I did. Day after day.
Flour under my nails. Laughter in the kitchen. Tiny arms tugging at my sleeves. Mia started drawing new family pictures.
This time, I was in them.
Liam began sitting beside me. Close enough to lean his head on my shoulder when he got tired. Ethan asked me to help with his robot's AI. And for the first time in years,
I coded again. Not for shareholders. Not for stock prices. But for us.
One evening, while closing up the bakery, Sarah handed me a folded envelope.
Inside was a card. Mia's handwriting.
Spelled out in colored markers. You can come to Parents' Day if you want. We saved you a seat. My knees nearly buckled.
I looked up at Sarah.
She simply said,
They chose. Not me. My voice cracked. Thank you.
For not turning their hearts against me.
She shrugged gently.
They deserve love. Even if it means learning to forgive. Outside, the sky turned gold. The bakery lights twinkled behind us. And as I walked home, holding that card like a sacred scripture,
I knew.
Redemption was not a destination.
It was a path.
One I would walk barefoot if I had to.
For them. For her. For myself. Parents' Day arrived.
I wore the suit Ethan helped pick. Mia had tied my tie, crookedly but proudly. Liam slipped a note in my pocket before we left.
It read,
You can sit next to Mommy. We do not mind anymore. At the school auditorium, they ran up on stage. 3 little stars shining in front of hundreds. Sarah sat beside me.
Poised. Beautiful.
Still the strongest woman I had ever known. As the children performed their skit, my eyes filled. Not with regret,
but gratitude.
For second chances.
For her patience.
For their brave little hearts. When the applause ended, the principal called up Mia, Ethan, and Liam's parents.
I hesitated. But Sarah took my hand. Firm. Steady. We walked up together. The crowd clapped.
Some recognizing me as a billionaire. Most seeing only a man who had come home. I kneeled beside the triplets and whispered,
Thank you.
For letting me earn my way back. Mia whispered back, Next time, you bring the cookies.
We all laughed.
Later that evening, we sat at the bakery.
The lights low.
The smell of vanilla and warm bread in the air.
Sarah poured tea. Looked at me. You came so far, Adam. But not for me. Not even for them.
You did it for the man you were always meant to be.
I nodded slowly. I almost lost him.
But you saved him when I had no right to be saved.
She smiled. Not as my ex-wife.
Not even as the woman I once wronged. She smiled as a woman who had risen from pain and built a world of peace. I reached into my coat. Pulled out a small envelope.
Passed it to her. She opened it. Inside,
a deed to the bakery building.
Signed over to her. Fully. I bought it, I said.
And now I am giving it back. Because this was always yours.
Her eyes glistened.
But she said nothing. Instead, she poured another cup. And asked softly, "So, what do we call this new chapter?" I looked at the children playing near the counter. At the sign Mia had painted above the door.
The sweetest rise.
And I answered, "We call it family." Dizzy moral of the story. Sometimes, the richest people are the ones who lost everything before they truly learned what matters. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength wrapped in grace. Redemption is not granted, it is earned.
And love
does not die.
It waits. Quietly. Until you become worthy of it again.
Belle, thank you for listening to this heartfelt story. If it touched your heart, share it, comment below, and tell someone. You are never alone.